Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sunil Rajguru, editor of PCQuest and your host for today's live webinar. A warm welcome to you all and thank you for joining us for our discussion today around strengthening remote workforce security. For the duration of presentation, you will be able to listen to what our panelists have to share with us. After the presentation, we will have a question and answer session. Your feedback is very important to us, so do share your views with us at the end of the webinar. So now on to the topic of the day. Ashok, can you put my PPT? So basically, since the topic is security, I think one of the biggest lessons we have that is the hackers never sleep. So if the hackers never sleep, neither can security. Next. So first, I'll just introduce myself. I'm Sunil Rajguru. I'm heading PCQuest magazine and CiOL.com. And if you want, you can get in touch with me later. Ashok, next. Yeah, so you see, whenever any tragedy happens, like a tsunami or a COVID-19 crisis, we think that the entire humanity is, trying to solve the crisis and trying to, create solutions. But the hackers and cyber criminals are also very active. In fact, they search for such occasions. If it's a new year, if a celebrity suddenly becomes famous, then they do their strategy around that. And that exactly the same thing happened during the COVID-19 crisis. In fact, the phishing, malware, ransomware attack, they increased during COVID. And from if you look at the statistics in certain zones, there was 100-fold increase from week to week. It was like 100-fold, 300-fold, 400-fold. In fact, while the World Health Organization was trying to handle the crisis, they reported a 5-fold increase in attacks in the immediate week after the crisis broke out. And the hackers were ready. They were with innovative, the emails, the files. They said emergency supplies, surgical masks, medical documents. They played on the fears of the people, and that is how they got a foothold into it. And so even URL attacks, spam attacks, if you look at the statistics, every attack increased. So basically that is the thing. The hackers, they are active all the time, and at such times they become extra active. So even the you and the organizations have to become extra active. Next. So basically, a thing to note is like if you go like decades back, the common man, the employee, the citizen, he did not have to worry about cybersecurity. It was something which his IT department had to do. He had the desktop, he would leave the desktop behind. Once he left the desktop behind, he didn't care much for the cybersecurity. And after that, even the network had to be secured. So you would find all the security staff trying to secure the network layer. But now the attacks have shifted to the application layers. Now you are being attacked as a user, as an employee. You are being attacked, and all the applications have been attacked. So from the server being secured, from your office desktop being secured, now if you see, everything has to be secured. Every device has to be protected. It doesn't matter whether it's a desktop, laptop, or your mobile phone. And even if it's an IoT device, you have billions of IoT devices, minding their own business, but even they can be hacked into. So basically, I think whether it's your personal home or it's a company, you need the right infrastructure with the appropriate tools and controls. And you need well-defined response guidelines. Now, when you say well-defined response guidelines, again, it doesn't refer to just the company. It refers to yourself also. Because now with the work from home era, your home is your office. So you have to secure your home. Again, when you talk of building cyber resilience, it is for the mobile workforce, it is for the company, and it is for you yourself. Next. So basically, I think expanding and beefing up security is the new normal. So for us now, even whether it's a company or a person, you have to beef up your security 24/7. So it is you have to be alert 24/7. It doesn't matter whether it's a company or whether it's an employee. So anyway, with that, I end my presentation, and let's move on. So it is now my pleasure to introduce Naveen Kotayan, co-founder and CEO of Aujas Cybersecurity. Over to you, Naveen.
Thank you, Sunil, very much for the introduction, kinds. As you rightly said, these are difficult times, and difficult time needs desperate measures. So what we're going to talk about today is about securing your remote workforce kinds, right? Can we go to the next slide? Um, so what I'm going to do is talk about the problem in terms of what we see in the industry around insider threats, how it's impacting, what you need to do about insider threats, where are the issues specifically which come around insider threats, and what can you do about that part. I have my colleague Sudeep and Gyan along with me as well, who want to support me in this discussion as we take you through saying what are insider threats, what can you do around it, and how can you help you become more secure guys. Right? So let me start with my first slide. So when it comes to security, I think the key byline I go with is saying ki only the paranoid survive. If you're not paranoid about your security, then there's a big challenge. I think with this COVID-19 pandemic, it has completely changed the working model as such, right? Where earlier only 10-15% of users were working remotely. Now you have a situation where 100% of the organization, 90 to 100% of the organization is working remotely, right? Completely remotely. And that typically opens up a huge number of security issues and risks. We are also used to working from office in a secure environment where all the controls are in place, all the SOPs are well defined. You know exactly what needs to be done. You have defined systems in place which take care of all the security issues and measures. But suddenly, everyone going remote kinds, it has completely changed the entire security fundamentals. Right? So, go to the next slide. So we've been talking to a lot of clients, right? And these are some of the issues and risks that they have struggled with and they have highlighted kind. Right? Fundamentally, remote work has increased the cybersecurity attack surface. Right? And some of the issues I think we have listed there. And this is obviously not a complete list of all the issues, but these are some of the critical issues people have talked about. Right? Starting with how do I let all my employees access these applications securely from wherever they are, right? And you don't even know who's working from where. Are they in city, out of city, in country, out of country kinds, right? So how do I confirm the identity of the users, right? What device they're using, right? A lot of people were using desktop systems, right? Now they're working remotely. So some are using the same old machine, some are using new devices, where they're accessing the application from. So everything is now is a risk or a risk area, right? How do you ensure that the endpoints that they're using are secure and protected, right? Are they using personal laptops or endpoints? Are they using company-given laptops or endpoints? And how secure are the personal laptops or endpoints they're using? What is the software they're using, right? What are the network controls they have in their house? How protected is their Wi-Fi they're using from the house? So so many issues which are happening at the user end level, right? You have issues at the corporate end level, right? In terms of how do I monitoring my VPN? How do I monitoring people accessing my critical applications and data over the VPN? What do I do around it, right? So net, the entire attack surface has increased, so significantly increased, right? And one of the things we'd obviously recommend all our customers is saying, do a risk identification, risk assessment exercise, because that is very critical. The new normal is very different from whatever else you were used to about 3 months back or 6 months back. So unless you take stock of the new environment and say, what are my newer risks in the environment and what do I do about it, I think you are basically catching up. Right? While there are obviously multiple risks, I think the focus of this discussion is primarily insider threat and why do you need to worry about insider threat and what can you do about insider threat, right? So that is what I'm going to focus on. So what is insider threat? We move on to the next slide. So this is the definition which I picked up from the United States Department of Homeland Security, defining an insider threat. What is an insider threat? There are very specifically 3 things you should note, kinds, right? So one is basically saying this talks about employees and any employee, current or former, right? And this includes your contractors and business partners. Anybody who has access to your network, your system, your applications, your data, right? So that's point 1. Point 2, they should have access to it, and that access has been misused, right? And you're using that access to misuse whatever assets you have. And the third part of it, I think, what the statement very clearly says, intentionally or unintentionally. right? A lot of times, obviously, most of our employees are trustworthy, and you obviously give them access so that they can do their work and do their business routines as such. But there might be a very small percentage, obviously, which may misuse that part of it. I think the bigger challenge is basically when unintentionally you do something, right, which opens an organization up for risk and security breaches as such. But primarily, when we talk about insider threat, this is what we're talking about. We're talking about existing employees. We're not talking about people outside the organization, right? Which includes contractors' business, and their access has been misused, guys, right? Either intentionally or unintentionally. So that is what we are trying to solve or protect against. Moving on. So while the insider threat bucket is a one bucket, but inside the bucket there are multiple other categories and subcategories, right? There are three big ones which we normally look at when we talk about insider threats. Is basically people who are compromised, people who have been negligent, people who are malicious kinds, right? Compromise is the most common threat vector kinds, right? Uh, the most complex of attacks starts with a very simple phishing attack or a spear phishing attack, right? And if you track most of the data breaches which have happened over the years, especially the big ones, the entry vector has always been a phishing attack, right? With people, as I said, people are your weakest link kinds, and their accounts get compromised, their systems get compromised, and it starts from there, right? So the first type of attack is where you have looking at compromised threat actors who get compromised. The second big one is what we call the negligent users or the negligent employees, right? Most security organizations we know about talk about, spending time and effort on training employees, having policies in place, putting controls in place. But you have a set of employees who are negligent. No matter how much training you do, how many controls you do, how many do's and don'ts you tell them about, they'll still end up taking up or doing something which is, um, stupid in my mind, right? And expose confidential data or confidential access cards, and that sets a whole thread of cascade issue, which then leads to a data breach. And we experienced something recently as well, where no matter what you do from an education perspective, no matter how much you train and controls you put, you will have employees who listen to all of that, then don't do anything about it, and that creates a set of issues. The final one is obviously the malicious ones, right, who have a bad intent kinds, right? Bad actors. So this could be multiple different kinds, right? You could have people who have resigned. In this situation, you have a lot of people who are being let go because of cost pressures and other issues, kinds, right? There are other issues which are coming up, right? Whether compensation cuts or forced notice period. There are enough issues that companies are dealing with which are impacting employees, which do create a set of disgruntled employees who could turn malicious kinds, right? While they may have not left the company, they are in company, they have access to a lot of system, but they are disgruntled, and they may want to do something about it. Right? So there's a set of people like that as well. So when you combine all of that, the amount of things that you need to worry about in your organization when it comes to security, I think it's just getting magnified in this environment that we have. So that's the other big area why we should start thinking or worrying about insider threats. Even if you look at, if you can go to the next slide. Yeah. So this is something which I picked up from the Verizon data breach report 2020. This is a new one. And this also tracks attack vectors over the last 5-6 years, guys. And if you look at the starred ones, 5 of the 8 attack vectors are insider threat related kinds, right? Primary being phishing. Phishing seems to be the most simplest one to execute and the most difficult one to control kinds, right? And it all starts with phishing kinds and then leads to a lot of other things kinds, which is one. You have other issues like stolen credentials which are misused within the system kinds. You have a lot of passwords and user IDs which are leaked on the web. If you monitor your dark web or other places, there are a huge amount of leaked passwords, and people seem to use the same passwords across networks and across applications and all that kind. And it becomes very easy for somebody who wants to misuse that and get into your network or use that access point. The third one, which is very interesting, is what we call misdelivery. Right? And misdelivery is something where an employee by mistake forwards, shares confidential data or confidential access to somebody else, to the wrong person or the wrong entity, which I think all of us have possibly done or happened to do kinds. It was very surprising to see that the third attack vector or breach attack vector from a data perspective. So all of these issues primarily come from insider threats, right? And it's a question of saying, ki, what can you do and what can you do around that part of it? So moving on to my last slide today, Khan. So net, if I have to summarize, we're basically saying insider threats present a major challenge to security in an organization. If it's not, if it's not the top three, I would say it is the most major threat that organizations deal with. While the volume looks small, if you look at the average days it takes to find an attack and resolve it, it basically runs into months. So because you have so many people that you're giving access to, which are legitimate, right, which needs to be given for business purposes, to then find out what is getting misused is very difficult in any organization which is large and huge. Right? So the time to catch an insider threat itself is huge. And the impact of an insider threat, well, it says it almost runs into tens of millions kinds, right? And technically, if that doesn't make you paranoid, I'm not sure what will make you paranoid kind. So that's the crux of the entire problem. Saying insider threats is the biggest problem that you're facing with, and you need to have methods and solutions to figure out how to identify insider threats, right? And how to deal with it. So what I'm going to do is, with that, now I've set up the stage, I'm going to invite my colleague Sudeep to talk about, what can you do to detect insider threats, right? What are the technology solutions which are possible, which help you detect insider threats, and what can you do about it? Right? Yeah. So over to you, Sudeep, with that.
Sure. Thanks, Naveen. I think we have a quick poll before we progress. Ashok. Right. So a small, poll that we would like to get feedback from you. What are the top cybersecurity challenges at your organization? While we have gone ahead and tried and explain what we feel and what we have been hearing as the top security challenge, which is insider threat, but we'd like to hear from you as well. So please help us with this feedback so that we can tune our approaches and solutions appropriately. So we'll give a few seconds for that. Whatever comes as the top priority in your mind, there's no right or wrong answer in all of these. This is what you are feeling and what you are experiencing day in and day out, right? All right. Vulnerability management. Well, yes, we need to make sure that our infrastructure is big. We are sharing data. Data leak prevention is the next. Applications are getting exposed. So of course, the application security is quite high. And I'm surprised that identity access management is 0% because that's what we are really talking about in this thing. Well, identity access management is part of the woodwork, right? We don't say anymore that one needs to learn how to write down passwords or how to use passwords. We assume it's there, right? So I would say identity access management being part of the woodwork, we are not really focusing on building anything new. But yes, making sure that the infrastructure is secure is also very, very important. Now, as Sunil also mentioned and Naveen mentioned, if I have to do insider threat detection, now there is no more insider, right? Who is an insider as far as the infrastructure is concerned? There is nobody inside the network anymore. Everybody is external at this point of time, right? And we do know, and these numbers are no surprises. While these numbers looks fantastic, the number of tools that we have learned to use. Earlier, I mean, as far as we are concerned, in my organization, it was just WebEx. Now I use WebEx, I use Trello, I use Slack, I use WhatsApp, I don't know how many more tools. So, the numbers are staggering, and most of these tools we don't even know. We have never even used these tools, or but those tools are being used. Right? Next slide. Now, what? Well, I talked about right now. There is no more insider as far as an infrastructure is concerned. Everybody is out there on the network. They are either coming over a corporate VPN, and most organizations, most users are actually not using a VPN because the VPN is not really scaling up, right? So you are directly coming over internet through a Zoom, through a WhatsApp, through a WebEx, through so many different means of things. Now, if you look into this user who is working from outside world, they are doing the job or what they are supposed to be doing, but they are also doing things that they are supposed to be doing as their personal time, right? They are doing online shopping because you are doing your all essential services online, so you are spending time trying to buy stuff. You are entertaining yourself. If not you, at least your family members most probably are entertaining themselves through some means. For example, video games, streaming services. I think we've already seen the numbers around how the Z and the Amazon and the Netflix streaming services have gone manyfold up. Now, all of these services, some of them we know, some of them we don't know, is also happening simultaneously as you are doing your corporate work. Now, if you look into, if you just think, is a hacker doing something similar work? Is he doing his coding and he is doing his own stuff together at the same point of time? Is a hacker system going to look very similar to an employee system? Both of them are on internet, both of them are doing, and they're not coming back inside your network. So right now, outside the perimeter, earlier it was just the hacker. Now it is 100% of our employees who is outside the perimeter. So while we are doing our analytics in terms of finding out what is normal behavior and what is abnormal behavior, now our employees are also, from a behavioral perspective, they are pretty much similar to what hacker would be doing. And for a few incidents that we have come across, family members, kids primarily, are doing activities which look like hacker activity, but that same system is also being used for legitimate purposes. It is becoming a big problem to really distinguish what activity and which user is a good user and which user is a bad user. So the normal tools that we have been using all this while really isn't helping us get into that level of trust that we want to be, right? So vulnerability assessments could possibly stop my hackers, but my users who are coming in and providing a channel are also opening up a channel which is authenticated and verified into the same corporate estate which you try to close out, right? So that's the new normal outside the perimeter with users who look like hackers. That's what is the normal that we have today. And people are not sticking to a shift. There's no concept of shift anymore. We are no more saying at 9 o'clock I see a surge in login. We don't see that surge anymore at all, right? The surge is any time of the day. Whenever you have a meeting, that's the time when you have the surge. So any time of the day is a good time of the day for you to work, and that's what is the normal. So everything in terms of behavior changes, things have changed so drastically. So the next slide, actually, I have that talked about. Can I go over to the next slide? Right. We have a tremendous shift that has happened in the month of March, right? Entire workforce over a period of time, like Sunil was chatting earlier, PCQuest has gone completely digital in a period of few days, I would say. I think Sunil might give the actual dates, but that is how fast we have changed our behavior, right? All this lockdown has changed our behavior towards health. Similarly, this forced lockdown has changed our behavior towards work, connecting to work. And all of these, what is happening is has changed the way we are using the infrastructure that we have given. And while we are monitoring the infrastructure, the same rules won't be applicable anymore, right? Naveen did talk about the number of phishing incidents that has increased. It's tremendous number of incidents, and many of those incidents are being thwarted. But at least, from a security monitoring team perspective, we are seeing those security incidents, and we have to handle them. So there is a huge increase in security incidents. People are coming without VPN because applications has been exposed without the VPN. We are doing browsing on online shopping and Netflixing and all of those over VPN, which we would have never done earlier. Abnormal work hours there is no more such thing as work hours anymore. So everything is normal. So that word abnormal is the normal, right? And locations, we're doing VPN from all over. If you're a multinational, you can go ahead and put a VPN, any of the VPN servers across the world. You will be connecting and coming in. So when I'm looking into my internal systems, I'm seeing an India employee working through the US VPN and coming. And I need to be, earlier I would have simply said, this is not allowed. But now today I have to allow, because the India VPN might have already been overloaded. So they're coming for a legitimate purpose. But within this legitimate purpose, which is that needle which is going to hurt me, I have to figure it out. And of course, the SaaS applications, which is no more, SaaS, the shadow IT, uh, that increase that people are using, file sharing, Zoom usage, there's so many more SaaS applications have got started use it so quickly, right? So the remote work behavior has seen a change very quickly. People have started behaving like hackers in the hindsight, and in all of these, the tools that were monitoring your systems, now those tools are all confused, and they are giving the number of false positives that came up in the first few days after the lockdown came up was tremendous. People were struggling to find out what is legitimate and what is not legitimate. And ultimately, we just decided everything is legitimate. People went ahead and stopped their DLP policies, because you have to share data. How do I share data without, earlier, which was not allowed, but the person is not coming home, so they have to share the data outside the company premises. So the remote work behavior changed drastically, and that again is a thing that the tools needed to understand and needed to cater to its thing. So what we went ahead and did was understand that this change in behavior is something that we have to cater into our analysis engines, right? Next slide, please. Right. So what we started doing was, we started relying more and more. Earlier, the correlation rules, the SOC system, the log system, it was primarily being driven by conditions that we had already identified, and those conditions is what we were relying upon to give me my incidents. But with this kind of things, we had to change very quickly, and that is where AI came very handy. AI systems could learn very quickly if we give them the right kind of input and the right kind of feedback. The AI systems were very fast and very quick in adopting to these new normals. And in the QRadar system, where we are able to look into different kind of data points, few of those data points didn't change, and few data points drastically changed, right? And each of those data points together could give me a picture which could help me understand what is the new normal, right? So it is just, if I would have relied only on VPN logs, then the whole system would have gone for a toss, and I would have said my business has completely changed. But it is not just the VPN logs that I'm looking into. I'm looking into also the logs of the Active Directory. I'm log of the applications, the logs of the desktop. So there are various systems within the organization that together is still doing the same work, right? So as we see more data in this particular system, I'm able to correlate all of this information using machine learning algorithms to understand which is the deviation and the variation, which is good, which is not a problem. Because if let's say a group of admin, If one admin is behaving different, then I know he is different. But if all the admins are in one together, they are doing something different, then I know that they have all been moved in a certain way. So I could rely upon a group behavior to also understand if the entire group has changed and the entire group behavior has changed, then one individual changing is really of lesser consequence. Of course, we still need to be looking into individual users also, right? So the machine learning and risk coding helps us understand this deviation and make sure that the deviation as part of a larger group is still lesser risky. So the thing which you see next is that peer group analysis helps me understand and tune myself to this new normal. And because it is because it's the augmented intelligence, artificial intelligence, whatever people feel comfortable in saying from a technology perspective, these technologies are really helping us to adapt faster in these kind of changes. And of course, the human behind these systems in providing the right feedback, right, doing the right tuning, helps us make sure that the systems are monitoring the users more efficiently and providing me the risk course which is appropriate and risk course. And all of this, at the end of the day, what I really need to do from a SOC perspective is provide a capability to put up these users as part of my watch list or as part of my focus list. People who are privileged has got higher level of scrutiny. People who are lesser using lesser classified data points with lesser scrutiny, so on and so forth. But as all of these things and all of these data points together working in a singular platform helps me see the whole picture. And when I see the whole picture, by the meaning of whole picture, I mean to say, yesterday I was explaining the whole picture is not just the video but the audio as well, right? You can't be seeing a picture just in the visual mode or just in the audit mode, just in the auditory mode. You need to be able to. So for in our language, I like to say that if I am looking into the logs and the traffic together, I get to see the full movie. And if I get to store the movie and replay the movie, that's the best thing, right? So that is what the SOC platform should be able to provide me. It should provide me the real-time traffic, the real-time logs, and the ability to do forensic analysis. And that is what my colleague GnanPrakash will talk about, threat hunting. Not everything are you going to stop real time, right? There will always be a case where you will go back in time and hunt through those threats. So the ability to do storing the data for forensic purposes. So that's what the platform, that's what the solution that is helping us look into deeper into the systems, right? Look into the logs, look into the endpoint activity, look into the network activity, get a holistic picture, use the machine learning algorithms in conjunction with the correlation algorithms to come up with a risk score, to come up with the idea of what is risky, and then provide that output to the analyst so that they can take care of a judicious call of that particular stuff. I'll quickly go through the next few slides, which talk about how deep we need to really go into it. As Naveen mentioned, phishing is the most prevalent use of compromising user IDs, and most data breaches are using compromised things. So unintentional, intentional, malicious, insider. Most of the time, it is the hacker who has taken the credentials of the insider, right? When a user has browsed to a malicious website, or he has browsed to a site just for finding some COVID data points, right? And hackers are doing all of those things. So by looking into the different data sources and the use cases that users were focusing on, and many of these use cases you would see that I've written there /ML, right? So those are the machine learning use cases. Authentication activities, when there is a user or when there's a hacker who has got hold of your credentials, they're going to use those credentials to authenticate. And when they use those credentials to authenticate, they'll do it a little differently from the employees. And that is where the machine learning algorithms can pick up those small nuances and say, this doesn't look like an authentication which is normal, right? This doesn't look like a normal access activity. So those are the things that we have to that we look out for using the machine learning algorithms. And the other statistical or anomalies based rules are things like where we are accessing on unusual times, we are elevating our privileges, etc., etc., right? So if you look into the MITRE framework, the various tactics and techniques that people use, phishing, download, command and control, access privileges, you need to have elements of analysis across all these different tools and techniques and tactics, right? And look into different data sources, which is going to help me understand all those tactics well. So this just gives you a view of what are the different data sources and which is the different tactics, just a glimpse of what we are doing in this particular platform of user behavior analytics. So if you look into the data sources, you will see firewall all the way to DNS traffic. So how is DNS traffic going to help me with insider threats? And you will be amazed how much of data DNS traffic provides me in terms of identifying a malicious user, right? So that's what the QRadar as a platform provides as a package, which helps us accelerate the activity, accelerate this identification of insider threat. Next slide, please. Right. So as a journey, there are multiple steps, right? You cannot be learning all of a sudden. Even if it is artificial, you still need time to learn. Even the machine would need time to learn. It needs time to fine tune. So what we say is that there are three various steps that we in the tool it is configured. First is focusing on the accounts, right? Focusing on the anomalous accounts, anomalous deviations. Then we go and move into the network traffic based anomaly that we bring about, and then ultimately we go into the behavior from a peer group analysis perspective, which is where the machine learning algorithms works best, and the amount of data that needs to be parsed at that point of time, that is endpoint and SaaS applications and cloud applications activity, all of these things as it comes into it, all of these gets starts making more sense as you look into the bigger picture that is there within the organization. Next slide. Right. Okay. Okay. I thought I had one more slide. Sorry. So that is what the platform really was all about. One thing which I think I was thinking of, saying these tools and these things, these platforms, they will work best when you provide feedback to them. They are not they are not machines that are intelligent, that are doing a specific task. They are doing variations, and hence while you have these tools in place, it becomes extremely important for an analyst to be looking into them and providing feedback. And that is where my colleague GnanPrakash will be taking you through. He leads the practice FDR practice for Aujas, and he will take you through the various phases of how the tools will work best when it is working with a good set of analysts sitting behind it. GnanPrakash, over to you.
Thank you, Sudeep. Thank you so much for that brief. Yeah. So good evening, everyone over there. Ashok, yeah, we can move to the next slide. Okay, there's a poll. There's a quick poll which. So yes, let's give a couple of minutes for the poll to be answered. That's good. Yeah. Which area of cybersecurity is okay? Yeah. Thank you. So as Sudeep said and as Naveen said, the current new norm is completely changed, and we as a MDR service provider, right, provide remote services and on-site captive services to various of our customers. Currently, our global SOC is built on the complete suite of IBM QRadar, which includes the logs, flows, all the add-on apps which QRadar can bring in, and especially the UBA is really helping us in this particular pandemic what we're currently all going through. Right, so we basically, what is the best thing which is happening is that we are able to add more context to our threat hunting portion using the UBA app or UBA model. Right, so the UBA is not just the analysis or the behavior patterns which we are giving, but we are also able to do a complete hunting based on adding more context to extending the UBA results with the flow data, and the user behavior results with the log data or with the VA data. So how it helps, I will explain you more in detail. Right, so this is a practical thing which is happening on the ground. So the flow gives various information about the packets, what is the packet size which has been moved in, moved out, and then what is the content which is available in the packet, etc. And it so with this, without having a user information or the user who accessed it, who used it, on what variation, on what frequency it's been taken out or taken in. So we were as a threat hunters, as a security service providers, we're not able to add more context to what we were doing. Right, with user behavior analysis in place, we are able to also correlate and infer the data, what we get from flows, what we get from the logs, and add more context to the actual hunting process. So it goes 1-2 layers beyond the normal regular alert based triggering, condition based triggering, as Sudeep said. So we are no more into that era. Right, just have some conditions, have some correlation rules, and something triggers, and we assume it is a true positive, but it is not. To narrow down a true positive, we need to do a lot of hunting, a lot of analysis. How quick we do it is the matter of success. So that is what something which has been able to achieve really well, especially in this particular behavior, in this particular scenarios. Right, the other best example is with the UBA, we will be able to get the risk scores, automatic risk scores, which can be tuned, which can be changed as per organization's structure. For example, you can increase the score of the CXOs, you can increase the score of the DMZ users, you can increase the score of people who manages critical applications, who has admin users. There are a lot of things which we can do with this particular platform, and which is giving us more visibility in terms of who is doing what, and then zero down to the actual end result. When it is a vulnerability on an end mission, right? So on the first poll, everyone said that major 45% people said vulnerability management is a risky offense. I agree with your point, right? So vulnerability management is a risky offense, and with UBA in place, you will also be able to scan. You will also be able to identify the high risk users, high risk machines, and then also able to trigger a vulnerability scan on an ad hoc basis, or on a periodic or on a scheduled way, whenever the score or the risks of the user machines or the applications goes up. So these are again another value adds which we can bring onto table using this combination of technology and the service and the knowledge what we bring in. Right, so so not only this, right, we can also do a various analysis. We can also have a complete real-time alerting, plus we can also do a forensics when an incident happens, when an actual incident happens. Right, most of it currently, everybody is working in different places with home Wi-Fi's, with some generic Wi-Fi's, but of course everyone connects to VPN. But whenever the off business hours, as Sunil said initially, the laptop is being used by family members, it's been used by the kids. We don't know how they connect to the internet and what they do, all those things. So these are some challenges, or these are mainly the risky areas where we need to do further investigation or keep a more eye on what is going wrong and stuff. So in order to do if some kind of incident happens, we are also using this particular behavioral analysis, because it also stores the logs of the past and the historical logs. So we are also able to do some kind of historical analysis and put a context to what needs to be what went wrong and how it went wrong and stuff. So this also gives us visibility in terms to identify that this particular user's machine got compromised because of so and so reason. Might be he's not an insider threat for us, but his machine got compromised for various reasons, and using X user's machine, the machine is trying to behave in a different way. So various kind of hunting, various kind of improvements, various kind of specialized hunting and information we are able to get with this particular options. Next slide. Yes, SOC analysis gains speed from UBA as an add-on, right? As I said in the previous slide, speed matters. When it comes to security, speed is the one which is going to kill the opponent. If we respond to it slowly, then we are gone. Either we are compromised, or we are lost, or our data is breached, our money is stolen, or we are taken under the attacker's control, whatever so it is. So speed is what everything we need to do. In order to do this, we need to, so this particular app gives us visibility to easily download and provide. So for example, Aujas is a MSS multi-customer, multi-tenant kind of service we provide, right? So many customers don't opt for it, many customers opt for it. So this platform also gives us the visibility to all the feature to enable dedicated UBA for each one of the customer we host on our SOC, right? So it's very easy. It's there is nothing much we need to do it if you want to. So we also do this on ad hoc basis when we have to do some incident forensics backward and do. So with this, on average, our mean time to detect MTTD has gone up really high in terms of the detection. And then the analysts, assumptions, predictions also have gone up by adding more context and enrichment to what they are analyzing, right? So the next slide. So this is to the mean time to remediate. So with having the good solution in place and the good skill sets in place, we are able to detect things on time. Accuracy is one key thing which we are able to manage and maintain. And then the most important and the critical key thing is the remediation, right? When you don't detect and on correct time, then we are gone. And when you detect something and if you don't remediate it on right time, then also it's a bigger problem. So with our fast speed approach, we are able to detect things on time, and also based on the based on the correct predictions, based on near to true positive analysis, we are able to take a quick call on any kind of incidents, and then move back to the move towards the remediation part very quickly. So it can be either automated or it can be a manual process. We follow up, we call up the customers and say, hey boss, your user has been compromised. We are doing further analysis, but then as an immediate measure, please suspend the user or disable the user or take him down. We will get back to you with so and so time with all the evidences. So we are safe. At least we are able to get the complete visibility on what is happening and take immediate action, and then do a further forensics and give a complete RCA about it. Right. So yeah. So that's how we increase the mean time to remediate as well. Right. So next slide. So Aujas, about Aujas, a quick overview. So Aujas next gen SOC, the picture what you see there over there is also our it's a real prototype of our Mumbai SOC. So Aujas has his next gen cyber defense center in many countries, India being the headquarters. So we have our DC in Bangalore and DR and the customer success center in Mumbai, which is a huge space. And it's completely been the platform what has been utilized on the SIM and the technology platform is a complete IBM QRadar stack. Also, we have our proximity centers in US, Canada, and in the Middle East. We have a presence in the Middle East also. We are having our SOC coming in. So the next slide, please. About Aujas. So Aujas is a NSE company currently. So Aujas is founded in 2008, and till now Aujas is running with as a pure play security service provider. We don't do anything apart from security. So our complete heart and soul is into cybersecurity. We are the engineers of cybersecurity transformations and one of the pioneers in this market as well. So Aujas has various practice to deal with in the cybersecurity areas. One is the security engineering, where we develop a lot of applications, integrations, automations for various cybersecurity platforms. And we also have the risk advisory practice, which is basically the consulting and advisory practice. And we also have a large practice around the IAM, identity and access management. Then we do have a separate practice for CSC, which is the cloud security engineering. So we do everything around the cloud security, the Azure, the Amazon or the Google Cloud or all the public clouds. Security is being taken care from this particular practice. And we have other practice called security validation service, which is the SPS, where we take care of all the vulnerability managements, the pen tests, and the phishing simulations and all those things. And finally, the MDR practice, which is what we spoke about all this while, which is the managed detection and response, the MSS practice of Aujas. So yes, so that's it from my side. I think I will hand it over to the panelist, Mr. Sunil, and also we might have a Q&A and the polling to be done. Thank you.
Okay, I would like to give a big thank you to the team of Naveen, Sudeep, and GnanPrakash for that comprehensive and insightful session. And with that, I'll open the Ashok. Is there one more poll? Should we run that first?
No, we don't have extra poll.
Okay. So then I think we'll open the floor to the questions. So I would like to, the participants, they can just type in their question on the right hand chat screen. So the first question is, how necessary is training necessary for all the remote working employees? If anyone can take that question.
Training from a security perspective, I think obviously since the discussion is on security, we'll take it as a security question. See, primarily, obviously, a lot of people are not used to working from home kinds. Right? Traditionally, what you've seen is people go to office, work from office kinds. And it's very industry specific as well. So a lot of the people in the IT industry, some of the digital industries are very used to working with IT and all that. But a lot of people who are in traditional industries and all that, the work culture is such that you have to go to an office and work kinds. So you're completely now shifting to a paradigm where you're working from remote, from home. Obviously need some amount of acculturation time, right? Getting used to it, saying what you do, how you run the process and all that kind. So obviously there is a need to do training, especially from a security perspective, because when you're in the office, a lot of the security is taken care by people in the organization, right? So the controls are the do's and don'ts are there, what you need to do, how you can do, all of that is there. But once you're in home, there's nobody to monitor, manage, right? Everything that you do has to be done by you, kind of. Right? So from that perspective, yes, training becomes very important, not just from a work perspective, but from a security perspective. What are the do's and don'ts, right? How do you use your laptop? What kind of internet you connect to? What kind of controls you need in place? What kind of behaviors are accepted, not accepted, kind of. So I think training, yes, is as important as is in this age and era as well.
So then another question is, how easy is it for SMBs and small businesses to adopt and use these remote security protocols?
So our take is, traditionally the larger companies, right? The big ones, the listed ones and all that, they typically have the resources, the people internally to manage a lot of the security on their own, right? They have the skills, they have the technology, they've been running it for a very long time kind. So they can do the build buy decisions, they can implement the technologies, they can do all of that on their own. It is especially for the small and medium businesses where they may not have the resources and the skills and the people internally to implement some of these technologies, right? Because in security, the technology keeps changing very rapidly, right? So there are newer technologies introduced on a yearly basis. Something which was there in vogue, let's say a couple of years back, is now outdated, and you have something new which comes in. So to keep on building the skills and keep on having people who understand, know that, and how to use it becomes difficult. That is why we offer this as a managed service, right? Where we say, ki, you don't worry about anything. We'll get the technology, we'll get the people, we'll run it for you, and we'll run it on the shared basis kind of. So even the cost that you have to pay for is not what you have to do when you're buying the entire thing. The shared service model is obviously more cost effective. So the managed service model becomes very cost effective for the small and medium businesses, and a lot of the customers we have in our shop are from the small and medium businesses, and we keep investing in newer technologies from the IBMs, and they keep on coming up with newer and newer technologies, and we keep adding it to our SOC as such. So we can deliver the latest technology to the small and medium businesses at a very affordable cost as well.
If I may add to that, because all of these tools are really a journey. It is not that I will install it today and tomorrow I'm going to start looking into it and I'm going to mature it, and all the complexities add on based upon how I implement it. And in the last couple of years, it's not just a COVID thing, but our major successes actually has come in the SMB section, because people are able to realize that I don't have all the resources, so let's plan it properly. Let's use the wisdom that the MDR solution providers are bringing in. Let's listen to people who have already done it. So SMBs are more cautious and also more more ready to adopt things. So I do believe, if we look into all of these as a journey, and that we want to take the first step of the journey, those SMBs, have really excelled in building up their MDR services or risk management services, the way I see it. Any security tool, the risk management practice in SMB section has really flourished over the last couple of years, and it has gone beyond the exclusive domain of those big guys, big enterprises. Yeah.
Okay. So then there's another, if I implement VPN, is that really safe? Is that enough, the VPN? So.
Yeah. So implementing VPN is safe to one extent. It's mainly to provide access to your network remotely, but it really does not solve all the purpose, right? See, through VPN you will be able to give access to your network first, but then how, after logging into the VPN, how the applications are accessed by the users is the other most critical thing. So we also need to think of the way how you provide access to all your applications for the VPN users, and also monitor the VPN login logouts very clearly. Plus also we need to bridge the gap of users logging in directly through a jump servers or through RDPs or through any other way of way of connecting the systems to the network. So yes, VPN is a must, but it's not 100% safe. So you cannot assume that you're safe only with the VPN on board.
Let's also understand what VPN is really giving me. It's just giving me a channel, right? It is
Yeah.
only stopping people from eavesdropping. So if I'm talking from point A to point B, on the network, somebody is not able to see whether you are talking and what you are talking. The compromise really is mostly in this, like, the encrypted channel is not really stopping any hack. What is stopping a hack is the good practices of how I'm using the VPN, right? How am I using my applications? The hacks are never VPN compromise, right? So VPN, yes, it is a basic hygiene. I cannot have a door without a lock. So that's basic hygiene. But definitely it is not the way or a means by which we are stopping a hack.
Okay. So I think we are actually running out of time, but maybe we can have time for one last question.
Sure.
It says that can you use artificial intelligence to predict whether a disgruntled employee is going rogue or not? Somebody asked that.
I'll let Sudeep answer that question.
Absolutely. I mean, this is one of the artificial intelligence. The way I see it is augmented intelligence, not really an artificial intelligence. So what am I really doing in using the AI engines? Is looking for those small changes in parameters which tells me that he's doing something which is risky, right? A disgruntled employee trying to poke around in the file server, which is the file. He has no business working in that file server. Now if I'm going to look into a person who is going to monitor his activities on a file server, or trying to send extra number of emails, or trying to look into websites which is of your competitor, it is not humanly possible to write rules around all of these things. But augmented intelligence can see these variations much easier and can create their own rules, and understand that this looks to be different. The variations, so the profile that, as Gyan was talking about, we create a risk score based upon all your activities across all the data that is pulled into the system, right? So the more amount of visibility that you provide to the system is able to look each and everything. Again, one of the things that we talk about AI engine is that it reads everything and it never forgets anything, right? So its ability to look through large chunks of data, make sense of it, and not to forget that data while creating the risk profile is what helps AI systems to identify or predict that this employee who is disgruntled is going rogue and might have some malicious intent. There are things of again, it may not be doing anything to do with what he is doing within the organization. He might be showing signs of doing bad behavior outside in the social media. So the visibility is what is most important for artificial intelligence systems to work. If I'm able to bring in the Twitter sentiment of that user from his Twitter handle, and then correlate it to what he's really doing within his organization, or what his son is doing, or what his friends are doing, you can figure out there could be many ways, many sentiments that you need to track, and AI engines can maintain those sentiments. It will not tire and say, okay, you're giving me too much of data, please don't give me any more data, right? A human might, but not an AI engine. And that's the beauty of AI engine, that it can look through various data points, analyze each of those data points to come with a single prediction score, and that helps. I hope I'm able to give a clear answer without going through too many marketing jargons.
Sure. Yeah. So, anything, GnanPrakash, Navin, you want to add to that, or should we conclude?
Yeah. So I'd agree with Sudeep on that part of it, saying the traditional model of rule-based detection of incidents is dated, and given the volume of data which is coming up, it is not enough kinds. So analytics, what we just talked about, right? Even the user behavior analytics, it is a subset of AI, right? And what you are saying is that is what will help you to identify the insider risks and the insider score, right? So yes, that is critical, and that's the direction in which obviously the entire industry is moving. So you'll see a lot more analytics, deep learning algorithms, AI helping with the entire solving the security problem part of it. So it is moving in that direction. I would not say it is completely mature where you can use it to find everything kinds, but it is getting there and it is definitely moving in that direction. And at some point, I think it will get there where it will help you do a lot of these issues. But I think there's still time to get there, kinds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So once again, I would like to thank the team of Naveen, Sudeep, and GnanPrakash for that interesting discussion. And with that, we'll conclude this webinar. And on behalf of PCQuest and Aujas Cybersecurity, I would like to thank all our participants today for joining this webinar. We hope you found it useful. And don't forget to fill in the feedback form. So anyway, everyone, have a great evening.
Thank you very much, Sunil.
Thank you all.
Everyone.
Thank you, Team Aujas.